Hi all. Today I would like to discuss the topic feminist criticism and language. So a very fundamental issue in feminist criticism on the question of whether or not there exists a form of language which is inherently feminine. So they will ask this question: is there an inherently feminine language, or is language patriarchal? So this is a very central issue within feminist theory. Maybe one of the earliest feminist thinker who talked about it, maybe Virginia Woolf, in her essay A Room of One's Own. She suggests that language use is gendered, so that when a woman turns to novel writing, she finds that there is no common sentence ready for her use. The great male novelists have written a natural prose, swift but not slovenly, expressive but not precious, taking their own tint without ceasing to be common property. She quotes an example and says that is a man's sentence. She doesn't make its qualities explicit, but the example seems to be characterized by carefully balanced and patterned rhetorical sequences. But it was a sequence unsuited for a woman's use, and writers trying to use it, for example, Charlotte Bronte or George Eliot, fared badly. Jane Austen rejected it and instead devised a perfectly natural, shapely sentence proper for her own use. But this is not described or exemplified. Presumably, though, the characteristics of a woman's sentence are that the clauses are linked in looser sequences rather than carefully balanced and patterned as in male prose. So, this has been an issue by feminist critics. So, in A Room of One's Own, Virginia Woolf may be the first person to theorize about it. And another prominent thinker is Dale Spenter, who, in her man-made language, she developed the idea that language is masculine. She says that language is not a neutral medium but one which contains many features which reflect its role as the instrument through which patriarchy finds expression. So she says every aspect of the language, from its structure to the conditions of its use, must be scrutinized if we are to detect both the blatant and the subtle means by which the edifice of male supremacy has been assembled. So this has been the argument of a thinker like Dale Spenter. However, one prominent voice in this aspect is Helen Sixo, who coined the term like a creature feminine, or a creature feminine, or a creature feminine, female writing, in her essay The Laugh of the Medusa. So uh, she says she associated with the feminine and facilitating the free play of meanings within the framework of loose and grammatical structures. She theorized about a kind of a language which women can uh, use. So in it, she says, she exhorts the women writers, why don't you write? Write. Writing is for you. You're for you. Your body is yours. Take it. I know why you haven't written and why I didn't write before the age of 27. Because writing is at once too high, too great for you. It is reserved for the great, that is, for great men, and it is silly. So she comes out with the argument that the present language is man-made or male-oriented, phallocentric. But she devised a language which women can use in her while attempting to write something. So about her writing style or her arguments, Marx and de Couture says it is impossible to define a feminine practice of writing And this is an impossibility which will remain. For this practice can never be theorized, enclosed, coded. It will always surpass the discourse that regulates the phallocentric or male-dominated system. It does and will take place in areas other than those subordinated to philosophical domination. It will be conceived of by subjects who are breakers of automatisms, by peripheral figures that no authority can ever subjugate. So, the use of a creature feminine seems to exist in a realm beyond logic. The use of such language is seen as a kind of perennial freedom fighter in an anarchic realm of perpetual opposition, snipping at the centers of power. For Sixo, this kind of writing is somehow uniquely the product of female physiology, which women must celebrate in their writing. So women must write through their bodies. This is the key of a creature feminine. She says that women must write through their bodies. They must invent the impregnable language that will wreck partitions, classes and rhetorics, regulations and codes. They must submerge, cut through, get beyond the ultimate reserve discourse, including the one that laughs at the very idea of pronouncing the word silence. Such is the strength of women that, sweeping away syntax, breaking that famous thread, just a tiny little thread they say, which acts for men as a surrogate umbilical cord. So a creature feminine is by its nature transgressive, rule transcending, intoxicated, but it is clear that the notion as put forward by Sixo can raise many problems. How it can be in fact used. These are all some issues that she raises, which we will be seeing in a separate video later. So Helen Sixo and her essay Laugh of the Medusa, in which she coined a language which women can use, which she termed as a creature feminine. Another famous thinker who thought along this line is Julia Kristeva. She talked about two aspects of language. One is the symbolic and the other one is semiotic aspects. She developed this in her essay, The System and the Speaking Subject, and also talked about the same in Revolution in Poetic Language. So, in the essay, The System and the Speaking Subject, she says that the symbolic aspect of language is associated with authority, order, fathers, repression and control, the family, normalcy, normative, classical, psychological tending discourse, all of which are just so many characteristics of fascist ideology. So it is social, cultural, and rule governed. Whereas the semiotic, uh, the semiotic aspect of discourse is characterized not by logic and order, but by displacement, slippage, condensation, which suggests again a much looser, more randomized way of making connections, one which increases the available range of possibilities. So it is vocal, it is preverbal, rhythmic, kinetic, bodily, and it is linked with the maternal than paternal. So, however, this over-theorization of language has been met with criticism within feminist theory itself. For example, Sandra Ann Gilbert and Susan Gruber, in their work Sexual Linguistics, ask this fundamental question: is anatomy linguistic destiny? Is a womb metaphorical mouth, a pen, a metaphorical penis? So they have come out with a criticism of such a theorization using language. So this is an issue within feminist criticism, and however, we need to take it into consideration that language has been a central area of concern for the modern feminist critics, feminist thinkers, especially the French feminist critics. Thank you.